All right, so I'm going to get back at it again. Another Wednesday devotional for you. Following again the psalm for this week in our lectionary, and this week it's Psalm 25, a psalm of David. And I'm going to read a couple of verses, talk about them, read a few more verses, talk about them, and look at what this psalm means and what this psalm means for us as God's people. So it reads, "To you, O Lord, I lift up my soul. O my God, in you I trust. Let me not be put to shame. Let not my enemies exult over me. Indeed, none who wait for you shall be put to shame. They shall be ashamed who are wantonly treacherous." So in the psalm, David prays. He lifts up his soul to the Lord. He calls upon God for salvation from his enemies. And these are real enemies. Who are these enemies? Well, we don't know. The psalmist doesn't really say, what their names are. But the way he describes them as treacherous, as violent. And he had trouble. But his trouble wasn't just out there. As we go on, we'll see him describe his trouble was also in his sin that dwelt within him. And so let me read this longer section, verses 4 to 18, as he talks about his struggle with sin and his relationship before God in his sin. "Make me to know your ways, O Lord. Teach me your paths. Lead me in your truth and teach me. For you are the God of my salvation. For you I wait all the day long. Remember your mercy, O Lord, and your steadfast love, for they have been from of old. Remember not the sins of my youth or my transgressions. According to your steadfast love, remember me, for the sake of your goodness, O Lord. Good and upright is the Lord. Therefore he instructs sinners in the way. He leads the humble in what is right, and teaches the humble his way. All the paths of the Lord are steadfast love and faithfulness, for those who keep his covenant and his testimonies. For your name's sake, O Lord, pardon my guilt, for it is great. Who is the man who fears the Lord? Him will he instruct in the way that he should choose. His soul shall abide in well-being, and his offspring shall inherit the land. The friendship of the Lord is for those who fear him, and he makes known to them his covenant. My eyes are ever toward the Lord, for he will pluck my feet out of the net. Turn to me and be gracious to me, for I am lonely and afflicted. The troubles of my heart are enlarged. Bring me out of my distresses. Consider my affliction and my trouble, and forgive all my sins." And in verses 16 to 17 there, at the end of that section I read, said that David was lonely and afflicted. And he goes before God, saying that the troubles of his heart are being enlarged. And he needed God to bring him out of his distress. And just like David, we have enemies too. Enemies that bring us distress. The devil, our sinful world, want to put us to shame as well. And our enemy is not just out there. Our sinful self is always waging war. And if we are relying ourselves to win the battle, we are doomed. So what did David do? He put the trust in the Lord to pardon his guilt. He knew he needed the Lord to teach and guide him. He knew that the steadfast love and faithfulness of God is the good way, the way that leads to life. And the forgiveness of sins from the Lord met him in his emptiness and despair, when he felt lonely, afflicted, and distressed. Yes, he was fearful before a holy God, but the Lord met him with forgiveness and friendship. And just like David, our God has met us with forgiveness and friendship as well. He has reconciled our rebellion and claimed us as his own. We know we are forgiven because he has turned toward us and been gracious toward us through the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. And yes, we are baptized in his name, claimed by him. We trust in his promises. And we can wait with hope because we know God has brought us back from the hands of our enemies and will bodily resurrect us to eternal joy and peace in his presence when he returns. So I want to read the last few verses here of this psalm as David talks about his waiting on the Lord, knowing he's forgiven, and what that looks like for him and for his people. Consider how many are my foes, and with what violent hatred they hate me. O guard my soul and deliver me. Let me not be put to shame, for I take refuge in you. May integrity and uprightness preserve me, for I wait for you. Redeem Israel, O God, out of all his troubles. So like David, lift up your souls in praise to your God. In this current COVID-19 situation, we are waiting for more things to open up, hoping that we will in some way get more back to normal. But as God's people, we're even more so waiting with great hope for when we will be in the presence of our Savior. He will save us from all our trouble and make things right. May the peace of the Lord be with all of you. It was good to see you this past Sunday, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again this summer as we continue to gather together in his presence as his people. Peace.